Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Hey guys, good evening everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessATrader.com nightly wrap-up show. Hope everybody is doing well. Guys, take a moment out, support the channel. Takes 1 second. Like the video, share it if you could be so kind. If you haven't done so already, come aboard, subscribe, and get notified when we have an update. So let's talk about the tape. We talked about over the weekend video the importance of that 481 level in the QQQs. If you guys remember, that was last week's highs. That was the area that obviously nobody here is calling a bottom, cares about calling a bottom, cares about being right if a bottom occurs, but at least we are aware of levels that if they do reclaim, the bulls should have some sort of happiness, right? Some sort of relief. So last Friday, we had a nice 2.5% rally. We obviously closed still red on the week. I think we were down 2.5%, 2.6% on the week, but at least it was a baby step. And we needed to get back above that 481 level today to kind of extend this dead cat bounce, right? I don't want to call it a rally, but extend this dead cat bounce. Here's kind of the good news, the bad news, and of the kind of the day. So the NASDAQ in the morning, right? If you guys remember, overnight, the futures were red. NASDAQ was down 130 points. And you're like, well, here we go again. Friday rally, only to give it back on Monday. But to the bulls' credit, and granted, there was some data that came out this morning. To the bulls' credit, they shook off the overnight weakness, which is a good thing, right? And then the bulls got above that 481 level, and the market started rallying this morning. Qs went up to like 483-ish, and you're saying to yourself, wow, this is actually pretty good. You had an NVIDIA gap up, you had all the quant names gap up. Market looked good, right? Market looked good, and then you turned around and the Qs gave it all back, right? If you look at the intraday view, you kind of see what we're talking about here, right? Market rallied off the world, and it just literally just gave it all back. Qs literally traded it to 83, and then literally gave it all back, and the Qs went to 76. So keep this in mind. What we talked about last week, or even the last couple of weeks, the QQQ should not be having a range of $7 to $10 a day. It on no planet should they be this volatile, this aggressive. So it really does show you how fragile the market continues to be, right? That any single headline gets pulled, every single rally continues to get stuffed, that we just can't manage to close at the top of the range. The good part about today was, well, the bulls recovered, right? The bulls recovered. I even tweeted this out like around lunchtime, like, man, these bulls, right? You reclaimed a major level. Not a major level, but you reclaimed a short-term level on the 5-day moving average, and you gave it right back. What an awful miss. Before the tweet was dry, well, metaphorically speaking, we started rallying like, oh, this is great, right? This is actually great, because if we could close now above the 10-day moving average, now we closed above the 5, which is again that 481 level. But if we can close above the 10-day moving average, man, we actually have some room in the next couple of days to test back the 200-day moving average. And before that thought even went out of my head, well, we sold off right back into the close. But the good news is, and granted, this is an ugly dump, but the good news is this is now the highest close. Again, if you want to use glass half open type of theories, this is now the highest close in the entire formation. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. So that's a full week. So the bulls, you have something to work with, right? Something to work with. So here's the level for tomorrow that the bulls need to build upon, okay? We need to get back above the 10-day moving average, which is roughly 486, right? 486, especially any close over 486, we could run all the way back to the 200-day moving average that we lost on March the 7th. So we need, right? We need 486, 486, 486. We need to get above 486. 486 will get us back to 493 and ultimately 495. So yes, bulls, it's very, very important you do so. And you have a lot of names that had a big run up on Friday that actually held up very well, especially in those quant names, right? Like the SOUNs had an inside day, right? Nice looking chart, by the way. RGTIs had a really nice look. Guys, by the way, look at this RGTI for tomorrow. You see how it's just bumping against the 50-day moving average? Watch this thing for tomorrow. This was an inside day after this powerful, powerful rally on Friday. This is a nice looking chart. If this is a beta name, I'd be all over this thing. This thing starts reclaiming back the 50-day moving average. So you had a lot of good things on the surface today after a lot of not so good things in the morning. And if you saw the morning, you had stocks really, really getting hit. Apple got hit. Amazon got hit. Tesla, man. Again, this is kind of the bad news. The good news we already talked about. Here's the bad news. Look at my stocks did not participate. Tesla got a downgrade today on Mizuho, right? Didn't participate. And by the way, I am watching this baby channel tomorrow for potential move down. Nvidia got a bump today pre-market. Gave it all back really, really quickly. There were some really exaggerated buying coming in today. We did see the 118 weeklies, which had tested now back-to-back days. But then we saw the 112s and the 115 puts coming in pretty aggressively as well for NVIDIA. We got to watch this thing the next couple of days because if it does kind of starts losing back the 5-day moving average, it will start moving lower. Apple, even though it had a nice little reversal today off the lows and did get rejected off the 5-day moving average, we saw some pretty heavy April 200 puts coming in very, very aggressively at one point in the morning. It kind of going back to Tesla, right? Kind of going back to Tesla. And again, maybe this is something, maybe this is nothing. So far, Tesla held the lows from a couple of days ago, right? You can see it was pretty much within 20 cents. They held the lows. They didn't rally, right? Obviously, did not rally. Here's where the odd part comes in. And this is one of those scenarios that you have to kind of judge for yourself. Does somebody know something, or are you just literally just throwing, what into the wall and hopefully sticks? We saw some very, very odd buyers come into massive weakness for the weekly 260 calls. Why? Right? Why? 25, 30 points out of the money with 4 days left? Again, it's one of those scenarios. We'll find out that answer in the next couple of days. Does somebody know something, or was somebody literally throwing what to the wall and hopefully it sticks? We'll see. We'll see. But regardless of their aggressive betting for the 260 weeklies and also the 516s, the May 16 expiration, the 260 calls saw a $950,000 premium hit that as well. So we got some really, really weird deep out of the money call buying today on Tesla. But I will tell you, if this thing starts violating the lows, kind of like the double bottom from last week, I will be a seller of the stock further. Again, you look at names like Amazon, didn't participate. You look at, for example, Meta, didn't participate. Amazon, I think I said Amazon already, right? Didn't participate. Google didn't participate. So the question is, can we trust this move, right? Can we trust this move? The answer to that is face value, yes. At some juncture, you can't be a cynic. You can't play devil's advocate. You can't be, well, let me see what happens later. Look, the NASDAQ 100 is built on 100 stocks. They're not built on 4, right? We use the gauge, the Magnificent 7, 10 stocks, whatever we trade. We gauge them as, well, if they don't rally, if they don't lead, the market really doesn't count. It kind of doesn't work like that. Again, we did put in the highest close in the whole formation on the Qs today, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see, do the rest of the names, right? Do the rest of the names, because again, there were names that held up very, very well. AMV was literally the strongest stock on the board today. Look at the volume, right? Look at the volume surge. This is the biggest volume bar that we've seen since the month of March began. So again, can the market rally without the Magnificent 7? Yeah, why not, right? Why not? It's going to make my life a little bit harder, but the answer is yes, why not? I would like to see all of them wake up, or I'd like to see all of them die. It's very, very tricky when one is strong, one is weak. Like, again, why was AMD strong today? just because it was Monday? Like, why was NVIDIA weak today? Especially after its really, really strong performance on Friday. Sometimes it's random, sometimes it's not. But the last thing you want to do when you are trying to dissect a macro potential move in one direction is having the Christmas tree effect. Some of the stocks are strong, some of the stocks are weak. You want to see everything kind of moving in the same direction. So going into tomorrow, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely watching Tesla to see if it loses the bottom channel. That's for sure, right? That's definitely for sure. I want to see, because again, they were pounding, pretty aggressive puts today. We saw some 220s outside of those weird 260 calls. We did see a lot of put buying as well, 220s, 225s, but there's some pretty neat looking charts here. Guys, look at Netflix, right? A buyer came in with Netflix, and Netflix is a B to trade, man. This thing trades a dollar spread, 100 share wide. I mean, this thing, it's like I put it today. I put it tonight on our nightly email, and I said, after I gave the pivot, I wrote, "May God be with you." It's true. I mean, when you're buying $1,000 stock with a dollar spread with 100 share lots, I mean, you almost have to pray to God it works. But all jokes aside, a buyer did come in for the 1,050 calls. It got briefly above the 50-day moving average today. If it could get back above the 50-day moving average, maybe Netflix wakes up here. I mean, it's not a bad looking chart. Robinhood, we saw some short-term $50 calls come in. $48 is the 50-day moving average. Watch this thing. This is now also the highest close in the last 5-6 days. If they can just get back above today's channel and start building, maybe you can start grinding way back. Again, that's kind of my point about, the market could rally, or at least potentially go higher, or at least potentially uptick without the Magnificent Seven. Again, it's a little bit tricky, but it's definitely doable. We talked about RGTI. Definitely looks good, sitting below the 50-day moving average. SOUN is another name that had a massive move on Friday that is just kind of just inside day. If it needs to confirm today's channel tomorrow to kind of wake up. But we're definitely set up. We definitely have some longs for tomorrow. We definitely have some shorts for tomorrow. The question is, how much do the bulls want it? People always say that all the time. It's like we were always told as young men, right? At least most of us were. When you find a good woman, right? When you find a good woman and you marry her, you hold on to her, right? That's love right there. The bulls are trying to get some love, right? Do you want to be in that relationship, bulls? Do you want to be in that steady love affair, or do you want to George Clooney it? To each his own, right? But right now, it's very, very tough. Every single time the bulls get a little bit of a little bit of love, they kind of push it away, right? So the question is, do we get the follow through? Do we get the 10-day confirmation tomorrow on the bulls? Because if we can't, again, we go right back down. Again, these levels are meant to be reclaimed. We did a good job on Friday reclaiming the 5-day. We did a really good job getting back to the 10-day moving average today. The question is, can we build upon it tomorrow so we could have an expansion rally? And oh, by the way, who knows? Maybe the Magnificent Seven will join us as well. Guys, have a great night, everybody. God bless. And with God's help, I'll see you all tomorrow.